All right, guys, we're recording, so I'm going to start. Hey, Jim from Red Rock Performance Industries. We are the portion or division of Red Rock Off-Road that handles all of the LS and Hemi swap parts, design, manufacturing, and installations, and all that kind of good stuff. And what we've got here today is all the pieces and parts for the do-it-yourself or our budget LS swap into your JKU. So these are all the parts that we've manufactured based on our first prototype unit we did last year. Since then we've done quite a few of them and continue to develop these products to make life easier for ourselves as well as the do-it-yourselfer at home who just wants to get a V8 into the frame rails of their JK. V8 power on the budget. A V8 swap you can do yourself pretty much under 10 grand. Couple components from us, make life easy, done. We do it, they can start at about 15,000 turnkey from us, depending on the options and all that kind of good stuff. But what we're here to talk about is pieces and parts that go into these kits. The do-it-yourself conversions, our budget LS retro power kits, this is what we have. So if you want to come in a little closer with that camera, we'll go over all these parts and what you can get, what we offer, what's going to be there to make your life easier. We'll start down here at the end. Of course, we're a BTR dealer, so we got BTR stuff going into our motor. We'll talk about that, but if you do a cam upgrade or anything with us, get BTR parts in our. So, moving on. This is our high pressure steering line. For doing the conversion, this is what bolts or connects your new power steering pump to your stock gearbox. You need adapter fittings and whatnot. You can get those with us. You can get them anywhere you want to. But the power steering line comes with a new hose and the adapter fitting that screws into the new power steering pump that you need to utilize for the swap. This is our power steering / transmission cooler bracket / AC mount bracket. It's quite a nice little piece that does a lot of things for us at the front of your Jeep. Simply mounts to your radiator core support. There are 4 holes in your core support. We drill those holes out, pop in a couple riv nuts, and that covers our mounting solution on the top. Where she lays on the bottom core support, again, we drill a hole, pop a riv nut in there, boom, nice and easy, comes in, comes out if you have to take it out. This bracket holds our transmission cooler as well as our power steering cooler, as well as if you run our race radiator setup and run aftermarket AC unit, this mounts the aftermarket AC unit as well. So pretty versatile little bracket. This guy is awesome. It's available as an individual bracket or as a complete kit with coolers and fittings and all that good stuff. Moving on, we have our TAC module bracket. This bracket bolts to the top of the brake booster, or bolts to the brake booster bracket, sits on top of the brake booster as well, and mounts the TAC module for the LS motors. 3 bolts, TAC module sits right on top there, finishes off really nice. We have a gas pedal bracket here. This is an unbent unit. We'll bend it up before it goes in, and we'll bend them up if when we send them out. This, we take the stock truck pedal, cut off the stock leg on the truck pedal, and then weld this onto the same truck pedal. The truck pedals are bent the wrong way for the Jeeps, so this gets bent at a 45 and a 45 and then moves the gas pedal over to the proper position for the JK. And then hole down here holds a pivot pin for the plastic pedal itself off of the stock Chevy gas pedal. This awesome setup here, all these black brackets are our solution, or is our solution to the ECU mountings underneath the hood of the JK. The LS motors come with a giant LS brick of a computer. It's a big, huge computer. So it's kind of a problem when trying to figure out where to mount that. Our solution, we came up with this mounting tray. It bolts to the stock location where your original Jeep ECU was, uses 2 of those mounting points, and then uses a couple brackets for a rear and side mounting point as well. This sits directly on top of your ABS module. So your ABS module, right underneath it, your lines will come off through here, and then our brackets, specifically designed to line everything up, these mount to your GM ECU, and then it drops right down on top in slotted mounting holes so you can fine tune it if necessary. And the way it works is the ECU cooling fins line up directly over the ABS lines, your brake lines coming out of your ABS module. So Pretty cool the way it finishes off, makes it look like it's supposed to be there. Does a nice job of solving the problem of mounting the ECU under the hood of a JK. If you're using a truck motor, which 90% of everybody is, the harness comes off the driver's side anyways. You can tuck up the access underneath this platform. Works out great. This little bracket here ties into the back of the mounting tray and the brake, our TAC module, and that creates our mounting platform for the relay box. You have to run some additional relays with the LS when doing the JK swap, and that's where we mount our relay box right there. Moving on to the fun stuff, this is our JK LS motor mount. It's a weld together kit, obviously. Short side and long side. Short side is passenger side. Short side has these little holes in it. We utilize those holes to mount our ground straps or cables, wherever you come from, how you say it. These mount our ground cables from the chassis to the block, and then from the chassis up to the battery. We just utilize that 3/8 hole, put it right into our bracket so it's nice and simple, straightforward. Cable from here to the motor, cable up to the battery, you're done. Top gusset, strengthen those brackets. Driver side bracket, the long side, obviously pushing the motor over to the passenger side like every swap because of a 4-wheel drive and drive shaft clearance. One thing, notice on these brackets, they're slotted. No JK frames are identical, so there's a little bit of adjustment built into the brackets. Again, they're very simple brackets. If you need to trim it differently, so on and so forth, you can always take a little bit off the edge if you need to. Top plate on the long side as well for strength, all that good stuff. Adjustable thermostat housing. This is kind of a must when doing an LS swap. This makes your life so much easier. Yes, the aluminum ones work. Yes, you can utilize them, but having an adjustable one is fantastic. Just from the mere fact of finding hoses can sometimes be a pain. If you're doing the Murrays, the O'Reillys, or AutoZone, try and search for hoses. This guy, a little bit of adjustability in it, makes life a lot simpler. If you've got one that's close, cock the housing a little bit and you're off and running. So definitely do a housing. This right here is the back half of your driveline mounting solution. This is our transmission mount plate. This transmission mount plate here bolts to the existing bolt holes in your transmission cross member and then slides up to the back of it and gets welded on. This is version 3.0 now. We originally just had these as straight holes. Now they're slotted, give you a little bit more adjustability side to side if you need to fine tune your placement. But for the most part, single was fine, but slotted is always better. So more adjustment, the better sometimes. Slotted holes, take your standard truck transmission mount, drops right in there, a couple 10mm nuts, and you're off and running. Once you get your final driveline position set, you just go through, we throw a couple tack welds on the side across the front, weld in our gussets, and then fully weld in the top side of the gusset. If you get our hardware kit, it also comes with a couple of spacers to properly space up the back of the transmission and hardware, but I'm not showing you what a bolt looks like. You also know what a bolt looks like, so we're way beyond that. This little guy right here, this is part of our fuel line kit. About 40 inches, 44 inches of 3/8 fuel line. Clips onto the factory fuel fitting at your gas tank. Clips onto a non-return LS fuel rail. Got a piece of heat sleeve on it as well. It'll come with a couple clamps for you to mount it to the floor or frame, however you want to do it. But that's our fuel line kit. As far as plumbing goes, that's the ticket right there. This is some of the ICT bracket parts that we haven't installed on the motor yet. We use ICT billet brackets for both the power steering pump and the alternator. Speaking of alternator, here's the alternator. This is the only one that works with the ICT billet brackets. This is a 105 small case GM 4-pin alternator. That's the only one that fits in that bracket. That's designed by ICT. That's how they designed it. That's the only one that fits. So you cannot run a stock 5.3 alternator that came off of most trucks, which is the 244 big case series. It's got to be a 105 small case series to work with the ICT brackets. You cannot run the factory big aluminum dual bracket mount that comes stock on a LS. It tries to occupy the same space as the power steering gearbox, so you cannot do it. So with that being said, there are a couple of companies that have some brackets out there. The ICT stuff is cost effective and it gets the job done. Even we use a standard version on the pump mount, on the power steering pump mount, but they also have a mount designed for a turbo. Basically, we use the turbo mounts if there's a big bore steering kit in there. So the big bore steering kit, like by PSC, just a bigger housing. With the stock style bracket, you will have pulley clearance issues with the big housing, so we bumped into the turbo and tightened it up to the center of the engine. So you'll get a standard, if you order our stuff, you'll get a standard mount for it, unless you specify that you need a tighter clearance one. These mounts from ICT utilize a standard F-body Camaro pump. That's what this is. They are a pretty decent little pump. They get the job done. Nice compact, have their own reservoir on it. And again, if you order our power steering high pressure kit, then you get the adapter fitting that fits right in there to connect the high pressure line from the pump to your gearbox. Gearbox uses standard AN fitting adapters, metric to AN. We have them, we keep them in stock. If you need them, you can get them from us. If you're doing a build it yourself kit and piecing it together, you can order it from your local parts supplier and all that good stuff. We do trans lines or power steering lines, low pressure. We use push lock fittings and flex hose. Simple, tight connections. It's great. They're easy for field repair if necessary. You don't have to fight with hard lines. These get it done. So we'll utilize 6AN fittings and adapters on the transmission to the trans coolers. Same thing from the power steering pump gearbox to the cooler and then back to the reservoir. All done with dash 6 or 3/8 line, depending where you come from, what you want to call it. Works out great. If you need to do a field repair, you got pieces and parts, you can make it happen. Quick connector and you're done and you're off and running. Ease of installation allows you to move lines around wherever you need them, get things done. So that's all of the main components for the do-it-yourself and or our retro power conversion packages. Brackets, tabs, gussets, plates, and componentry. And then this is our cooler. This is what we use for the cooler. This is the power steering cooler, mounts to the bracket here in these pre-cut holes, right like that. We do add the power steering cooler to all our systems because most of these Jeeps are no longer stock. They're trying to turn big tires, so big tires cause resistance. Resistance makes heat, so we get rid of that heat. Put a cooler in there, real simple. Stock Jeeps don't have coolers. The only thing they have is a piece of 3/8 line that goes across the front of the frame, and that is the extent of their cooler. So at least this gives it a shooting, this gives somewhat of a chance. So this is a 2-pass power steering cooler. We use the same design, styled thin and tube cooler. Woo. Kind of makes some noise there. Okay, so be it. So we use a 6-pass for the transmission and a 2-pass for the power steering. And I think that pretty much covers what's needed to get this into the Jeep, as well as what we're currently offering, and we're going to add more stuff to it where we find the need and all that good stuff. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the motor. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright guys, let's talk about the powertrain. This is a standard 5.3 GM LS engine. This is out of a truck, 2005 I believe. We bought the motor, trans, and transfer case out of the truck, maybe $1,000, $1,500. Got 90% of the components that we needed with it. Still had to chase down a tack module, gas pedal, and a few other trinkets. But so be it, still a good deal. Snatched it up as soon as it came up, and we're running with it. It is no longer the same motor that we bought though, as we completely tore this puppy down, and she's been completely rebuilt. Right down to a bare block, fresh hone in the block, and then all new bearings, rod bearings, main bearings, cam bearings. I know, cam bearings, we did them. So we did cam bearings in it and rushed up the whole lower end. And then obviously, I think we talked about it earlier, but we called up our boys at BTR. As we're a BTR dealer, we got ourselves some BTR components to go back into the engine. We went with a stage 2 truck cam in this to give it a little bit of a rumble, but not so much that we're sacrificing vacuum or anything of that nature. And again, we don't want it to be a super rowdy motor for this particular build. This motor is going in this orange Jeep behind us. It's been a great Jeep. It's served the last 4 years as a rental out in Arizona, so she's seen a lot of road, a lot of trails, probably more trails than most of us ever seen. But she's got a 3.8 in here right now. Good motor, still runs strong, but it's time for an upgrade, and this is what she's getting. So that 3.8 is going to come out. We're going to put this 5.3, a 4L60 that came with it, and then our new rebuilt 241C transfer case. All that driveline will get mated together. It's going to get slipped inside the frame rails of this orange Jeep behind us. So, again, 2005 5.3 LS truck motor, stage 2 BTR cam going in it, lifters, push rods. Let's see, anything else? Lifters, push rods. Oh, valve spring upgrade too from BTR as well. And all new gaskets, of course, went into this motor. You guys can see on the front there that we've already installed some of the ITC brackets as they utilize some of the same bolts to mount the water pump and all that good stuff. So make sure we keep correct torque specs on everything. Some of it has gone in before. So we've got the skeleton here for the alternator mount, as well as the backside bracket for the power steering pump. So we'll complete those installations once the motor's inside the truck. I don't want to have to deal with them hanging off the motor while we're installing it. Can we do it with it installed on the motor already? Sure we can. However, it's just safer for us to leave them off until it's all in. Standard fuel rail, standard injector, standard drive-by wire throttle body on it. Nothing fancy in this particular motor. All stock on the top end. Again, as far as the fuel components are concerned. We've got some aftermarket basic conversion headers. These are your standard Amazon, eBay headers. Try to keep costs low. They work great as long as you seal them correctly, pay attention to what you need to pay attention. The passenger side works just fine on the JK. You have miles of room around the exhaust collector to build your new exhaust system from. Not a problem on that side. Driver's side, however, the V-band will hit the firewall. So on the driver's side, we go ahead and just chop off the collector. And what we do here, we chop off the collector, we put a new downpipe on, and then put our V-band down here about 6 inches lower with our downpipe. Some guys have done it. They've chosen to smash the firewall and clearance the firewall, if you will. Short version is we're not going to do that. If we're doing the conversion for you, we're not going to beat your firewall in to clear the exhaust. We cut the V-band off, build our new downpipe, and then build our exhaust system from there. So, all in all, getting pretty excited. Motor's complete. We finished it up the other day. She's ready to go in. So now the big thing is just going all out on that Jeep to get that 3.8 driveline out of there and get our stuff into it. So we're going to do a series on the conversion. Some of it will be time lapse. We'll do some videos here and there on it. Try and get you as much information as we can to what goes into a simple, we call it simple, but a basic V8 conversion into a JK. So we're going to end it here. On that note, stay tuned for the following videos of our build. We'll catch you later, guys. Thanks for watching.